wanted to come on here and talk about something maybe we don't even know what it is, but I wanted to talk to you today about aging abundantly. Do we even know what that is? I'm not going to talk to you about, the latest anti-wrinkle cream. I am not going to talk to you about, some exercise that will stop your skin from sagging. I am not going to talk to you about how you should dress that is appropriate to your age. I totally don't follow that rule. But what I am going to talk to you about is something much, much deeper. So there was a small town in Blissville, USA, where a young woman lived with her husband and her 4 children. She did everything in the household, from the laundry to cooking dinners from scratch for her 4 children and her husband. She drove her children to and from school. That was an hour away each way. She took care of a menagerie of animals, from donkeys to geese to dogs to cats. They even had a pet pigeon in her family. She created choreographed birthday parties when her children were young. She even hired a Cinderella carriage for her daughter's 5th birthday. She thought that if she made her children's lives perfect, then she would feel better about herself and feel worthy. She never asked for help, because if she asked for help, it would be a sign that she was weak and a failure. That was her story the majority of her life. But every day her energy was depleted and she was always exhausted. She never took time to care for herself. And she thought if she felt depleted and exhausted, someone would see her value and her worth. Guess what? Never came true. And big news, maybe you have no idea, but the woman in the story is me. I just turned 60, or what I call it is sexty, last August. And that 40-year-old woman that lived in Blissville could never have imagined that the abundant aging life that I am living now. Would have absolutely no idea. And to explore living abundantly, I'm going to share a 4-part framework to aging abundantly that has given me and many other women a new sense of life. I always say, what we think, feel, and do is actually what we become and what we attract into our lives. The thinking, feeling, and doing creates the energy. I'm not talking about physical energy, but our inner vibration or our force field. So I would like to ask all of you, how many of you spend every day doing things for others first, or, having a multitask list that would make some other people faint because there's so many things that you have to get done? Are you exhausted at the end of the day? I'm going to ask, any multitaskers out there? Anyone? To age abundantly, we get to run our inner energy differently. Make sense? So there is a significant difference between inner energy driven by obligation and energy fueled by passion and joy. Both, definitely both, contribute to how we live our lives. And my life force energy is driven by what brings me joy. So once we start running our inner energy from passion and joy, then we're ready to take, the first step in these four paradigms that I mentioned to you before. So the first one is vision. We get to start exploring what you actually want to do and who you want to be instead of what everyone else wants. So vision is the first paradigm. The second one is belief. This was a hard one for me. You're going to start pretending you believe that you are worthy of whatever that vision is. And if you don't have belief, you're not going to step forward. This took me a long time to really 100% believe that I was worthy to have my vision. The third one is we get to feel. Feel as if it's already happening, embodying the energy of what you desire, and you will attract it. You get to feel it to actually be it. And then the fourth paradigm, my favorite, adventurous action, taking consistent action towards your goals every single day, taking steps to bring you closer to what you want to experience. So, as you know, as we get older, society often tells us to retire and make our lives smaller as we get older. But I believe this is the time to take chances, expand our horizons, and go on epic adventures. In this new energy that I'm living right now, I'm experiencing epic adventures. Whether it is writing books, traveling the world, or doing things that scare the crap out of me. I actually had an opportunity to take a trip to Egypt, but I got really scared. I was afraid I would lose connection with my partner. I was afraid that I was going to be, really far away from home. And of course, I was afraid because the Israeli-Palestine war had just broken out, and everybody was saying, "Are you crazy? You're going." But I went anyway, and I walked my talk, and I got on that plane. The most powerful steps is I allowed myself to take. And, the way I shifted my energy was remembering the VBFA, the vision, belief, feeling, action. And I also added humor. To get on that plane, I had to make myself laugh, adding humor to the situation, which would have stopped me. So I wanted to share something really funny with you. So glitter glasses helped me feel that abundant, adventurous energy. So I'll tell you a story of my glitter glasses. For me, glitter glasses makes, a situation that you might be experiencing that, might be difficult, might be challenging. But when you put your glitter glasses on, life, just becomes sparkly. And that's my humor. So my trip to Egypt was last October, as I had mentioned to you, and I was leading 9 other women in a transformational travel experience. And one of our excursions was to this beautiful remote place called Fayum. Like I said, very remote, surrounded by a place called the Magic Lake and the Sahara Desert, where actually Bedouin families drive together on motorcycles. You have the whole family on one motorcycle. It's pretty amazing. So early that morning, when the sun was rising, we headed out to the desert in 3 cars with our drivers to experience four-wheeling, which I'd never done before. The entire trip, we were escorted by this armed security guard. I'll call him Ahmed because I never knew his name. For one, he didn't speak any English, and two, he was just very buttoned up and serious. He had no expression. He wore a black suit with a collared shirt and a very thin black tie. And he also had a very large semi-automatic gun strapped to his belt. He was in one of the 3 cars that took us out into the middle of the Sahara Desert. And before we left, just so happens, I threw in 10 pairs or maybe 15 pairs of these glasses into my bag, just in case we might, need them. And we arrived at the entrance of the desert, and I gave everyone, including the drivers and the security guard, a pair of these glasses with the glitter around the frame. So the smiles that began to fill everyone's faces was so beautiful to see. And the buttoned up security guard, with no expression, was especially affected. And when he put on these pink glasses, these were his, with the sparkles around the eyes, his expression completely changed. It was as if he was 10 years old again. And he began giggling hysterically, singing in Arabic as we got back into our cars. And as we, began the drive through, the vast dunes up and down, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I noticed that his leg was hanging out of the passenger window and he sang loudly and he was clapping to the rhythm of very loud radio. We all had our radios on. It was such an incredible experience. And when we age abundantly, we actually invite others to change their inner energy and do the same. So what changed was I began living my life aging abundantly. And so are you with me here? Does it make sense to you? So my point is about this story is the energy that we flow within us is actually shared with the world. We can even cross language and cultural barriers with this energy. And the most important thing is we help others to find their own light. So maybe your adventure energy could look like, venturing into a new skill that you've never let yourself try, learning a new language, I don't know, pursuing hobbies you've always wanted to try, or embracing the unknown and stepping out of our comfort zones. So I took a leap and tried something new. As much as I can, I expand into adventures now. I do things that makes me feel so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I used to tell myself that I didn't know how to write. And now I have 3 internationally best-selling books. I wish I'd known, Let Your Inner Golden Sparkle Shine, and my new book, Sacred Kitchen, Abundant Plate. And I am running my inner energy completely different now. It's great. It's really great to want to do these things. It's really exciting, right? We can talk about it. We can tell our friends about it. We can just dream. And that's what I used to do. I was an incredible dreamer. But the most important thing to aging abundantly is to actually, for real, in form, allow yourself to do it. So maybe many of you out there already likely do some really cool stuff. You've made space for adventure. Yes, anyone? And maybe we have some dreamers like I was. Either way, If you are here with me and you're still breathing, there is at least one adventure that you have not allowed yourself to experience. So does that feel true to you? I know that it did for me. Now, I want each of you watching here to take a moment and think about a skill or a place that you haven't allowed yourself to experience yet. And if you're willing, you can share it in the comments below. But what is holding you back from experiencing it? And, I don't just talk about aging abundantly, I walk the talk. I remember there was one other instance, which there's a video on my Instagram where I am actually going down on a snowboard on some sand dune and I completely wiped out and I had sand in my face. It was such a fun experience. I never would have done it, but I really live it. I walk the talk and I do it. I live and I age. I'm aging abundantly. So by tapping into this internal power and running my energy from a place of passion and joy, I have opened myself up to new adventures and experiences. I mean, I never, ever thought was possible. Before we end our time together today on this video, I want you to think of one of those adventures, either, something internal that you want to change about yourself or an external thing that you want to experience in 2024. And do you want to go from a dreamer to an adventurer? I would love to know that. And if your adventure is to be in Egypt, I'm actually going again in November 2024, and I've just started to open registration for another adventure retreat. If there is a calling for that, please comment below and I will give you the information. But the evidence of aging abundantly, and it's not about our looks, it is about our energy and the evidence that makes this possible. Some of these amazing women. My grandmother, who lived in the very southern tip of England, went back to college to get her French degree when she was 90 years old. She is my mentor. Diana Nyad swam more than 100 miles from Cuba to Florida at age 62. Julia Child, my nemesis, published her first cookbook at age 50. Writer Toni Morrison became the first African American to win the Nobel Prize for Literature at age 62. I could go on. These individuals and I have proved that life can get more exciting, abundant, and more radiant the older we get. This is available for all of you, and I know you will go out and do it as well. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that aging abundantly is something that you will experience too.